By the way, I'm the most popular man with the kids today in Ohio.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any plans to put the patrol back on the gas tax as a source of revenue? I know that's been a concern of patrol.
Well, look, I mean, John knows that we have budget problems, and he's not coming to me with, we need this source of revenue. I mean, maybe he'll make a plea to me on that, but this is all part of the budget, how we're going to do the budget. It'd be premature for me to answer that.
Speaking of the Highway Patrol today, and one of their responsibilities will obviously be your protection. Where would that be? At your residence, or will that be at the governor's mansion?
Have you called Mrs. Kasich yet?
Okay. What's her number?
Well, I think you should you can call Beth Hansen and ask her if she could communicate your question to her. But we'll give an answer when we're ready to give an answer. My wife's got a lot of things going on, including the twins and staying fit and everything else, and she's working through this. I mean, it's a process, and we're going to make the right decision, really, for our family and for our kids. So it's coming.
But clearly, this is going to require a significant amount of preparation work and that sort of thing. If you do decide to stay at your residence,
the patrol is very well aware of the kind of things we're thinking about. They're giving us direction, and it'll all be just everybody needs to stay relaxed. It'll all be fine. You want to say anything about that, John?
We've already been in preparation. Obviously, we don't talk about security specifics, but we're absolutely confident that first of all, when you find out, will be after we're fully prepared. But we're in the process now, and have been actually since the election. So he's in good hands. And
if you would just briefly describe the Highway Patrol's role in providing security for the governor.
Well, it's a statutory role that the Ohio Revised Code has provided for a long time, and obviously we do what we have to do to make sure that the governor and his family, any other dignitaries that come to Ohio, we work with other agencies. In fact, our partnerships with other agencies is absolutely critical, whether it's Secret Service or local, state, federal agencies, county agencies. It's a cooperative partnership in Ohio.
Yeah, and I mean, just to be honest with you, if you talk to the detail that's with me, I think I frustrate them a lot because, I don't think about this stuff. I just go and try to do my stuff. And Tom, they tell me that, when I go to Bob Evans from my house, they're going to have to go there with me. I mean, it's going to get it's going to get more difficult. But at this point, they've done a great job. They've been at my home since a couple days before the election. They sit in a patrol car and watch, but it's going to change, and I don't understand it all yet. And Pat Kellum, who heads the detail, he's very nervous about telling me how the coverage is going to go up, because that's just not what I'm like you, right? I mean, just don't think about it.
When you were talking to Mr. Charles and Major, did you discuss in detail the investigations of the current administration, the drop at the governor's residence? What was going on?
No, we didn't. I'm going to tell you how this all happened. I was inclined to have him reappointed, okay, because there's still ongoing investigations. In fact, I told him that I was comfortable with that. I went to Washington, and my eyes were opened about, sometimes you just don't think about these things. FEMA, protecting the homeland, restoring integrity in all these operations. I thought, this is the guy. He's got the experience, he has the integrity. He will be the right guy to do this, and he's excited to do it, and I believe he's going to teach me a lot of things that I need to know, and it's exactly the right fit. So we didn't get into the detail. I don't operate that way. So we didn't sit around and talk about drops or this guy or that guy. We just didn't get into that.
Governor-elect Hannon, has been suggested that the current administration was inappropriately involved in those patrol investigations. If there were similar investigations in anything under your bailiwick, would you avoid any appearance of impropriety and be involved in that, even if it was in some way embarrassing to your administration?
I made a joke about a year ago about paying bonuses, and I live to regret it. I could make a joke about this, but I know that I can't anymore. I mean, look. You don't mess with these folks. They go do their job. David Yost is the auditor. At some point, he's going to do audits. I mean, we're all in here to serve the public. And if it becomes my deal to protect myself and my skin, that doesn't work. I've never been that way. So they got to do their job. Everybody has to do their job. And to try to get somebody to to try to interfere in an investigation, that's not an appropriate way to behave, and it's not what I intend to do.
Tom, do you plan on closing or wrapping up your Noe investigation before you leave office, and where does that stand?
That is an active, ongoing, and no, it won't be wrapped up, and I can't discuss it publicly. Well, I can't discuss it outside of the federal grand jury rules, but it'll go on into the new year for a period of time.
Governor-elect, have either of these gentlemen had discussion with you about returning the state patrol to a dedicated share of the gas tax?
They just asked that question. No, we haven't talked about that.
Sorry.
We decided we were going to have all just good communications up front, and we'll cry later. No, we're fine.
Maybe I missed it. Is there
decided-
any chance you might realign the core function of the patrol, make it more like a state police? I know that.
No. I mean, look, John. Look, the way I operate is these people are in charge. They understand what I want. They'll tell me when they're interested in doing certain things, and you know, if Tom comes to me and says, "Listen, I think this FEMA operation has to be organized differently," I mean, you know, I'll listen and I like to give them authority. If John Bourne says we need to have a change in the mission or whatever, I'll listen to him about that. But I think we have to get back to basics. And he said it best. And serve the public, keep them safe, have high integrity, and let's get back to basics because it's been a challenge. John, you want to say anything?
No, I absolutely echo his comments. I think in Ohio there's three legs to the law enforcement stool. And obviously we're a part of that. The police departments in Ohio are a part of that, and the sheriffs are a part of that. And I think it is an imbalance if you don't have all three working together. We've got a great working relationship throughout the 88 counties, and it couldn't get done. It's a tough economic climate. And I didn't bring up funding. We know that there's a difficult funding climate, but it's not just for us. It's for every agency. So everyone is doing what they need to do to contribute to a safer Ohio. And that's really, it's that simple. Is we're going to do what we have to do to contribute to a safer Ohio.
And they're going to work with the National Guard as well. I mean, Ashen Hurst is a colonel. She's going to be a general. She's talked a little bit about Homeland Security, Tom, and we want to make sure that we have her in the mix and that we all are very well coordinated.
Major, had you been in command last year, would you have canceled the drop at the governor's residence?
You don't have to answer. He's not going to answer. Look, that's yesterday. Look, we're not going backwards. I didn't put Bourne in because he'd go messing around in investigation. Charles is in here because, I mean, who's questioning his integrity? I mean, of course he wouldn't have messed in that. If he'd have messed in that and I'd have known about it, I'd have gotten rid of him. I mean, the guy's not, that's not the way we operate here. He's not going to interfere in stuff he has no business interfering with. I don't know why sometimes people don't understand. We're not playing a lot of politics here in anything. Just get the decisions made, serve the people. God bless Ohio. That's kind of the way I look at it. Look at this guy. You think he's going to sell out to somebody? His wife will kill him.
It wasn't a political question.
I agree with his
law
answer.
enforcement.
Quick question looking forward. To that extent,
Sorry,
will you
John.
keep the mansion program with the prisoners, whether or not you live in the mansion? Do you...
Look, that's all under review. I'm very unhappy with the way, I mean, that was an out-of-control program there. Just go and read some of the reports. I mean, I'm not prepared to tell you exactly how it's going to work, but that program was dysfunctional.
Do you have any ideas on who you might appoint for Inspector General to replace?
Well, we've got the transition program, and we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Okay, and do we have an idea of how many public safety department employees there are and how many are in the patrol?
We can get that for you.
There are about 3,700 and 1,500 uniform.
That's patrol, right?
Yeah, we're down about 100 troopers.
So it's 1,400 or it's
No,
1,500?
we're down 100 troopers from our ceiling.
Okay.
Are there plans to replace those, or is that the new norm?
There's a class in right now.
Colonel Bourne, would the Norris Watts victim matter be an example of individual misconduct becoming institutional misconduct?
Well, I think the governor-elect said it. I think, I don't think it's fair to go back and reinvestigate something that's already been investigated. We've obviously had a conclusion. We're moving forward. Like I said before, and I think if you talk to a trooper in Marietta, talk to a trooper in Van Wert, there's incredible optimism, and I would like to take credit for that. But the truth of the matter is, I think 47 years and 32 32 in the Highway Patrol. You don't build a record of accomplishment like that without getting a huge amount of rank and file support. The troopers in the field know him, they like him, they're extremely excited. They're extremely excited about an administration that talks about no politics in the patrol. That's why you joined the patrol.
You know, let me just say one other, another thing. It doesn't mean we're not going to have trouble. It doesn't mean there isn't going to be a trooper doing something inappropriate with somebody. It's going to happen. It's human beings. I mean, we're not going to escape this till we're in the next world. The issue is, how do you deal with it? And if you deal with it in fair-handed way, and you don't play politics and say, you know, my uncle called me and there's a problem in some part of Ohio, can you stick up for my cousin? You know, we just can't do that. And I think you have to understand, you know, the greatest men in history made terrible mistakes. I will make some terrible mistakes, okay? I say my prayers every day to not just be flying out somewhere, but we're here to really serve this public. And the minute we start messing with politics, we lose. It's just like the highway stuff. I just had a meeting with Jerry Ray and some people pushing a highway project. I said, we don't push projects like that. If you do a good job, great. There's no pay for play or any of this other nonsense that has hung around state government since Moby Dick was a minnow. We're going to try to do it right. And all these fellows will do is to make sure that we have an honest conclusion and an honest investigation. There's going to be screw-ups. I'm going to screw up, but we're just going to have to do the best we can to remember we represent 11.5 million Ohioans, and that's our responsibility.
Tom, the Democrats have
Last question.
raised questions about potential conflict of interest because of family ties with patrol. Is that a concern at all?
The wife and son are on the highway patrol. There's a layer between us. The layer is John Bourne. My wife and son will be recused from the promotion process, so I don't see that as a problem. You have to remember I was a major and a lieutenant colonel in the highway patrol, and they were on, and it didn't seem to be a problem. And if you look at the city of Columbus, the police chief's son was a police officer. So it happens there. There were 3 colonels that had family on the highway patrol, and you deal with it as long as you deal with it. Transparency and you.
Tom, let me just say something about this whole issue. I find myself tripping over the anthills on the way to the pyramids. We have so many stupid rules and regulations that prevent us from getting the best people to come in here. You just can't believe it. And I blame it on all of you, all this transparency and, you know, conflicts and all this other stuff. I'm going to just tell you, it is a problem to get quality people to come to work in the government. Our problems in the government are bigger, and the quality of people who want to come in is less. Now, if you get sick and your disease gets worse and worse and worse, I would suggest to you, you get a better and better doctor. But today, if you get sick under the governmental rules and all the political correctness and all the open sunshine and all this other stuff, you get a worse doctor. And this is something we have to think about over time. We have made it so difficult for quality people to come into the government. If I was to get somebody to come into the Department of Development who is a top flight business leader, they'd have to kind of sit out of their business for a year. Now, we have a jobs problem, but I can't, common sense has gone out the window. And I know you're all going to hit me on this at some point. The fact that he has relatives that work in a patrol, I think the man will do a good job. And, you know, it's just sort of silly to have to explain all that away. His reputation is great. I stand behind him. And all this business about this conflict and that conflict, I'll tell you something. We're hurting our kids. And this is not the last time we'll get a chance to talk about all this. I just want the best people. He's the best man for this job. And he will handle appropriately the fact that he's got relatives in there. That would not disqualify him in my mind. Of course, I haven't been in the government for 10 years, so I still have a little bit of common sense. I'll bet by the end of this term, I'll probably be lost. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
How about a round of applause for that?